But I want to preface that by saying this. Kevin Holland, go to Russia, go to Kazakhstan, live with Habib, live with his family for the next, I don't know, 8 to 18 months. Just reinvent your ground game and come back. Because he is now exposed. He is the most exposed middleweight fighter out there right now. Because all you got to do is take him down. That's all you have to do. Just shoot for his legs, get him on the ground. It's donezo.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because I really like Kevin Holland. And you said it last week. It's dangerous for him to take this fight, especially after coming off a loss to Derek Brunson. I will say, I'm happy that he did. Kevin, I think this has really shown Kevin Holland that what he needs to work on. He probably felt invincible after 5 wins. He thought he could probably fight anybody. He probably feels that way anyway. Any fighter would, but I think he has now done enough with 7 fights in a year's time. Because you pointed out to me earlier, I don't remember if it was on last week's episode or just us talking, but he fought 5 times in the back half of last year, and we're just in April of this year.
Right. Yes.
I think he's got enough under him. I think he should take 8 months off. I know you want him to go to Russia, but go to AKA. Daniel Cormier's over there. Khabib's over there. He's coaching over there. He's currently undefeated as a coach with his fighters. I think you should go over there and train with them. Take 8 months off before you schedule a fight. Just get your feet back under you and then come back. Because I still think he has the potential. I really do. His stand-up is really good.
It is. I mean, he's a scrapper. Like, that's what he's known to do, and that's what he can do. But the problem is in that middleweight, like they are vicious on the ground now, and it's turning more and more into a ground game. You know, we're not really sure what Israel is going to do. I assume that he'll be smart and probably come back down. But I mean, even with him, like Paulo Costa, Whitaker, Derek Brunson. I mean, like he just lost to Brunson. Gastelum. Uriah Hall, when he finally sometime decides to fight, I don't know when we'll see him again, but
he should be fighting Chris Weidman on a card coming up. But
yeah.
That also brings up Chris Weidman, who he's no slouch either. He's a great wrestler.
Yeah. Akhmedov, like Brad Tavares, like all those guys can take you down, and that's why, like I say that, like now they all know, and they know his one weakness that he has absolutely refused to work on. But you're right, go to AKA, work with a gold medalist and a national championship wrestler and a guy who actually wrestled bears as a kid. I promise you that you're going to get better at wrestling. Guarantee it. And if you don't, that just means you suck.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to get much better. He just needs to defend the takedown. He needs to work on the defensive side of wrestling. He doesn't need to be offensive. That cuts down half of what he needs to learn.
Well, he does jiu-jitsu. I mean, I don't know what color belt he is. But I know he trains out of Luther MMA, which is they do jiu-jitsu.
Luther.
Yeah.
Hadn't heard that name in
What
a
did I
while.
say? I said Luther. Ooh, Luther, my bad. So
Hey, it's all the same.
So I mean, like,
I really would love to see a fight between him and Israel. Maybe more of a kickboxing match, honestly, because I just think those two would throw hands and it'd be really fun to watch.
Yeah, it would. I'd like to see that.
But I'm with you. I think he's gonna come back stronger, and I can't wait to see it. I like him. I don't know if you saw him retweet a picture of him after he's been in Russia for a little while. If you haven't seen that on Twitter, I definitely think you should go check it out because he's aware and he's already hinting that he's gonna be working with Habib and Daniel Cormier. So,
I didn't need to check it out.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and transition to some of the stuff going on this Saturday. Let's just briefly talk about this one because I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. I don't know who I'm rooting for, but what's going on with Jake Paul and Ben Askren, man? What's happening here?
I had somebody tell me today that it was just a show, that it's just going to be an exhibition, but I'm actually kind of worried. I'm not worried. I think Askren's going to beat his ass, but at the same time, if Askren loses, then it's not going to be a look that we want. It's not going to be pretty by any stretch of the imagination.
How does Askren win?
He prays.
I'm with you. I think for Jake Paul to win, he just keeps Askren on the end of his jab, honestly, and peppers him.
So,
I really hate that. I saw something earlier today where everyone was talking about Ben Askren is representing MMA. Then you go watch Jorge Masvidal's interview with Ariel Helwani. He says that Ben Askren is not a representative of MMA, but I hate to say this, but in this case, he is. Is Ben Askren the one I would have chose to represent MMA in a boxing match? No, maybe in a Sambo tournament, but not not in a boxing match. So, unfortunately, that is kind of where we stand. And I don't think Jake Paul is going to knock him out because Askren, I think, is really tough, but I do think he can win a decision.
I think he could win a decision. I think it's going to be a hugging match, except for I think one or two things might happen. I think Paul will come out and try to just swing as hard as he can, and I think it might mess him up. And I think Askren can kind of just sit back and pick him apart. That's what I'm hoping happens, at least.
I think you made a good point. You said a hugging match. If you'll notice, Jake Paul had a tough time with his distance against Nate Robinson. I don't know if you got to see that whole bout. But he had a tough time with the distance. I don't know how much of that was Nate Robinson, but if he can't maintain the distance against Askren, I think Askren could probably dirty box him, hit him to the body a lot, and maybe sneak out a decision. Who knows? It's intriguing nonetheless. Frank Mir is actually on that card boxing as well.
I did not know that. Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my goodness, I got to watch Frank Mir box. I actually like Frank Mir. I'm a big Frank Mir fan.
I really wish he competed in jiu-jitsu more because his jiu-jitsu for a big guy is absolutely stunning. So I really wish we could see him do more grappling. I'm going to end up saying that a lot in this show. You know, I love grappling too much, I think.
You love grappling? Do you really love grappling?
All right, moving on. Let's just briefly touch on this. Poor Mighty Mouse, man, needs to a head of a downed opponent. Is legal in one fighting championship. That was rough to see, for me anyway, because I love Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, I like him too. It's just how the mighty have fallen when they leave. I thought it was a touching addition to the week to see him just get, curled up like a little snake, but
yeah, I watched that whole fight. I only tuned into that one and the Eddie Alvarez fight. That one's horrible also, but we won't spend too much time on it. But that fight was shaping up to be a good fight. Adriano Moraes is really good. I can't wait to see him in the UFC. I hope they get him quicker or early because he's 31 years old, so I would love to get him in the UFC. But at flyweight, that dude is huge.
He is pretty.
He was so much bigger than Mighty Mouse.
He is a pretty big human being. Well, he's 5'8". I mean, you got to think for a flyweight, that's not a. I mean, Demetrius Johnson is 5'3". That's a pretty big difference.
I got to do a little more research. Everyone's saying this fight was at flyweight, but I'm looking on Tapology at this and it says that this was 135 pounds, Adriano Moraes and Demetrius Johnson. I don't know for sure what weight this was actually at. I could have swore they flyweight on the broadcast.
It says it was for the one bantamweight.
That probably played into it for Demetrius Johnson, though.
Yeah, he should have not have done that. Not a smart move of him.
But he'll come back. I like watching him, so I can't wait to see his next fight.
True. But speaking of good fights, I'm kind of excited for this fight night coming up. Mainly because I like Gastelum and I like Whitaker, and I think that at 185 they are a fun bunch, and I'm pretty pumped for this fight. But I'm actually pretty pumped for a few others on this main card. I'm not going to get deep into the prelims. They're here, they're there. There's probably a couple in there that'll be good. But more or less, I want to kind of hit on Arlovski first. I'm an Arlovski fan. My guy, he would fall in that tier where he's going to be making some money on these fights.
For just a quick thing to tell you with Arlovski, something I just noticed the other day when I was looking at some of this. Arlovski has fought a lot recently. I don't know if you've noticed that, but he's got a lot of fights here, and he's one of the older ones in the division. He's 42 years old, and he fought 3 times in 2020, and he's already fought once this year, and now he's fighting again.
Jeez, and he fought 3 times in 2019, 4 in 18, 3 in 17.
I think he might be one of the most active heavyweights.
He has to be. I mean, that makes sense why he's 30 and 20. You know, if you're that active, you're not winning every fight.
Exactly. And he still puts together strings of victories every now and then. And he's taking on Chase Sherman, who is looks like he's 15 and 6 on a 1-fight winning streak. Beat Ike Villanueva.
Yeah, he's kind of a new guy. I actually remember that Ike fight. The only reason I remember it is I believe that's the same. Yeah, it was the Smith and the Anthony Smith and Glover fight. But there was a big heavyweight on that fight. It was Rothwell and St. Peru.
OSP.
Yeah, that was
played
actually
football at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good card. Had Drew Dober on it. Had Thiago Moises. So, but that Chase Sherman, they were the very first prelim. That's how I remember them. So he's kind of a new young blood. It's going to be kind of interesting. I mean, a guy who's fought once in the UFC versus a guy who has, one of the most active UFC fighters in history. It'll be an interesting heavyweight. And, heavyweight's is fun to watch because if Sherman comes in and really hurts him, he shoots up a lot higher in the rankings than if he does that in the lightweight. So I'm excited to see that. That's a shot for Sherman, and it's a shot for Arlovski to keep grinding.
That's a good point. Yeah, I want to see Arlovski take the win. Just because I want to see it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I do think Arlovski is at that age where he kind of goes out or gets hurt a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't got knocked out as much as I thought he would. But I think it'll be a good fight. I think it's a pretty good matchup. I think Arlovski's experience may help him in this one. So.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be a fun one. What do you think about the Pena Munoz fight?
I'm interested in it because it's two kind of younger guys. They're newer to fighting. They both don't have a lot of fights under their belts, but they also. Munez has only fought once in the UFC. He lost his first one to Nazarat. That was back last year, the middle of the year. And Pena, on the other hand, I mean, he's sitting there. He's fought in the UFC a good bit, but he's kind of a back and forth fighter. He's getting ups and downs, hills and valleys.
Yeah, this is one of those that kind of hard to call.
Really, it's the 155, so that's the that's the kicker to it. That's a hard division, and it's going to be a hard division for a little bit. You know,